Welcome to today's trading session. We are going to discuss trade compliant drafting and handling of APS. What we are going to discuss today is best practices, reviewing offers, agreement relating, um, and also we'll be looking to agreement relating commission. And we will be looking into drafting offers for the informed buyer client and the condition period home inspection. We'll look into that also, preparing for the absence if you are working on a transaction and you have to go somewhere due to some emergency or some other reasons. So preparing for your absence, that what procedure need to be in place to represent you when you are not there. So we'll talk about that one, and then we'll talk about the closing and the retention of the record, that what's going to happen on closing day, what are your responsibilities before and after closing, and the post closing and the retention of the record, that who is going to retain and what kind of record is going to retain and for how long the record is going to be retained. So let's look into the best practices. Mr. Aswar has got a property listed into the Milton area. He is going to discuss with his client that how they want the offers to be presented. Let's see what he is going to discuss with them. Number one is review client's preferences. He's going to review, he will be reviewing with them that what are their preferences on receiving the offers. And he will also be explaining the pros and cons of scheduling an offer, and then explain that a scheduled offer presentation date might lead to preemptive. So these are all your responsibilities as an agent which you need to do. Find out how your client wants to handle preemptive offers. So that is another thing which you need to be looked into. And document your client's instructions. Once you're sitting with them, you're talking to them, and whatever the instructions are given, document them. Now, number one is review client's preferences, that how they want to look into the offers. Electronic copy of each offer. Would they like to have the electronic copy of each offer, or would they like you to bring all the offers when they are going to be discussed onto the presentation day? Or how does your client want to address his or her questions or concerns? How they want to address them? The other thing, what happens on offer presentation day? What are your clients' preferences on how offers are presented? How they want the offers to be presented? They should be presented once you receive all the offers, or they want the offers to be sent to them as you receive them. So all these different questions you need to ask your client so that you can handle them according to the requirement of your client. All offers, or do they want to see all the offers you are receiving, or the offers with above certain amounts? Your client might want to see the offers asking price or above asking price. They might not want to look into any offers which are below asking price. Ask these questions so that you can handle it accordingly. Explain the pros and cons of delaying offers, that in the increased interest in the property, if the offer date is scheduled, you are not looking into the offers as they comes in. You have decided that you will look all the offers on one day, and you have given a offer presentation date. So that the benefit of that one is that you may will get multiple offers. You may potentially get the higher price, but that can happen only into the hot market or into the seller's market. It never happens into the buyer's market. You will not be, most likely not able to get the price which is even the listed price. If you're lucky enough, you may well get it, but if it is a buyer's market, it's difficult to get the multiple offers and the price your client is looking for. But the for the scheduled uh, date, the risk is that your client may well lose an attractive offer, because sometimes some of the buyers, they don't want to wait for a specific date. They want to know today, because if this property is not available, they might want to go to the next property. They don't want to stuck themselves with this property for a few days, so that your client might lose that interested client. They don't want to wait it. So that is another thing which you need to explain them, that a delayed offer representation might lead to a preemptive. This is again if your client is willing to accept the preemptive, because when the property is listed, most of the times it's given on there that the client has the right to accept the preemptive offers, and in some cases they do mention that the preemptive offers are not going to be entertained. So ask that question to your client also, that preemptive offers prompted in that's only to the active market when it's a seller's market. It's a seller's market. It's not a buyer market. That's the only case. Expire, the preemptive offer always expire before the presentation date, and the seek written directions on how to handle these. See, always seek the written direction, and there is a form you can fill it out about the directions that when the offers are going to be reviewed, and what kind of offers they would be looking into. So document all those instructions which you are getting from your client. Client preferences on receiving offers, how much information your client want about the offer that comes in. Ask that. Do they want to be notified of preemptive offers if that option is there without seeing the details? And would you prefer to see the details but not formally consider the offer until the offer presentation date? Do you want to consider all offers received before the offer presentation date? These are all preferences your you're asking to your client, and they're giving these to you. They're answering back to you, and you are documenting them. So ask them, would you like to only offer that above a certain price? So here again, if your property is listed and your client does not want to see any offer if it is below a certain price, ask that question also. If they say yes, then you don't have to work on that offer. You don't have to discuss. Of course, you will be bringing that offer, and that offer is going to be kept into the record as it came from in the brokerage. So you are obliged to bring them. You are obliged to let your client know that there are offers, but as you said that you don't want to look into it. So, but your office is going to keep those in their record. Would you like rather consider only offers with a specific condition? Sometimes your client may ask you that I don't want to see any offers which have this condition or which don't have this condition. I will be considering only that offers. So that's another question you can offer. Would you prefer not to know about preemptive offers? This is an optional because if it is given into the listing that this should be asked at the time of the listing, that preemptive offers, your client says that they will not be accepting any preemptive offers, so that you can mention into the listing that preemptive offers are not going to be entertained. Client instructions, when you're discussing with your client, receive offers directly from the buyer's sales representative. You are receiving the offers from the client, from the sales representative from the cooperating brokerage. Bring offers only that are above asking price. These are the instructions your client might be giving you in case this Mr. Javed is getting these instructions from his clients, and he is just documenting them so that he can make sure that whatever his client is telling, he is capturing them properly. The other instruction they have given that don't bring us any offers where the irrevocable date the period is less than 24 hours. They don't want to look into those offers. So any offer which is less than 24 hours, they are not going to consider it. So this is another instruction. And preemptive offers will not be considered. So they are not considering this one, and this is given into the listing also. So you as a listing agent, or Mr. Javed here in this case, listing agent, is not worried, but he's documenting it. And once the instructions are given and documented, read them back to your client. That's what need to be done. Go over the details of each offer. This is another thing. They are saying that they will go over the detail of each offer. They will bring the offers which are shortlisted, and they will go over the detail of each offer with you, and then you will be helping them out to make the decision. Once it is discussed, now here it comes that you have to read it back to the clients and ask them that have you captured the instructions accurately. If you have, then they will confirm it. And in this case, Mr. Javed asked that have I captured your instructions accurately? The client says yes, you did, and now they are documented, and Mr. Javed is safe. He can work around based onto these instructions, and he can bring the offers based onto these instructions. The house is listed. It's drawing a lot of attentions for may start coming in. So the code of ethics establishes some specific requirements for the offer handling. And what are those specific offer handling requirements? Let's look into those. We will be discussing three different scenarios here, that you may will come across as Mr. Javed is coming across those scenarios. The first scenario is that this lady, Laila, the buyer's agent, she picks up the phone and calls to Mr. Javed. Hello, Mr. Javed. And Mr. Javed is replying, hello, yes, Miss Laila, how can I help you? Miss Laila says that I have client who is interested in a property you have listed in the Milton. Uh, Okay, so what's your question? Mr. Javed replies back, and Ms. Laila comes up. Ms. Laila, actually, the scenario is that she has been working with this with her client, and she had shown few property. She drafted few agreement, but those agreement they could not go through, and she was not able to get the property. She is a little bit frustrated, so that's why she just want to make sure that whatever the agreement when she is drafting will get accepted. But as a listing agent cannot guarantee that unless he gets the offer and discuss it with the clients, and the client is the one who's going to make the decision. So let's see what she is up to. We don't want to go through the trouble of preparing another offer just to find out yet again that is not accepted, because her previous offers for other properties have not been accepted. She is desperate now, and she just want to make sure that whenever if she is preparing an offer, that should be accepted, which actually is not right thing to do. She cannot. She has to put an offer together and send it to the listing agent and wait for that. The conversation continues, and she says that my client is willing. She is conveying some dollar amount also with some certain deposit as well, and a closing date. That could be any. But in this case, she is saying that the property Mr. Javed is listing, let's suppose for $1 million. She is saying that my client is interested in $945,000 with the 80,000 deposit and 30-day closing period. Can you convey this offer to your client? This conversation which she is having with the listing agent, in this case Mr. Javed, is not really an offer, and she is asking Mr. Javed to convey that to his client. So let's see what Mr. Javed answers. Now, can he relay to his client that there is an offer? No, he cannot. This is just a communication Laila is having with Mr. Javed to get information about property and can let him know of his client's intent. But these short conversations are not considered to be an offer. So Mr. Javed cannot convey this offer. So that is the one scenario. If you happen to get into this kind of scenario, make sure that you are not conveying. Just let the agent know that submit your offer, I'll take it to my client, and then it all depends on my client that how he or she is going to look into it and if they are willing to accept it or not. You cannot make any decision, and you cannot convey that to your client that you have an offer. There is no offer. The other scenario is another agent pick up the phone and call to Mr. Javed. Hi Javed, I hear you are getting offers on your Milton listing. Yes, that's right. And now this other second question he asks, how many, how close are they to the asking price? This is another question which listing agent cannot answer. He cannot convey the number of offers has been received, and he cannot disclose the asking price of those. He cannot disclose the client's asking price, that how much he can accept. This is this cannot be conveyed. The only thing which can be conveyed to the agent, the total number of listings, but only if he has or she has submitted the offer. Otherwise, nothing can be conveyed to the person who is inquiring about the. So the simple answer Mr. Javed will be giving is that why are you submitting an offer? He is asking back. You are asking this, why are you submitting? If he says yes, I'm submitting, then Mr. Javed and you as a listing agent should say, okay, the listing date is today, or listing date is tomorrow, so please submit your offer. That is the only information you can give them. You cannot give them any information. Once they have submitted the offer, then only you can give the information, the total number of offers you have received along with their offer. Other than that, no other information will be passed back to them. So that's what he's saying. One of my client is considering making an offer. So Mr. Javed is saying offer presentation is today, so please send your offer. So that's it. So this was the second scenario. So he's here in this scenario, he wanted to know the asking price. He wanted to know the number of offers. without submitting any offer. So you, an agent, cannot give either of that information to him or her. But the asking price, you will never. The only thing which you can convey back is the total number of offers. That is the only thing. And that is only if he has submitted his offer, not even before he's submitting his offer. Now, scenario three, another agent calls to Mr. Javed. Hello, yes, I'm here listening. An old client of mine is interested in your Milton listing. This is relating to the agreement of commission. Now, the commission mentioned into the listing is 2.5, the cooperating brokerage commission. But this agent who is calling is willing to work on to that commission. So let's see what he is trying to say, convey to Mr. Javed. I am proposing a buyer commission reduction. Now, the buyer commission reduction is that buyer is going to give 2.5% commission to the cooperating brokerage, and he is willing to reduce that one. So, meaning that more money will go into the pocket of the seller. I would be willing to take 1% instead of 2.5%. So the commission is 2.5%. He is willing to take 1% instead of 2.5%. So in other words, he is making his offer really appealing offer. So now what is the responsibility of your responsibility as a listing agent, and in this case scenario, Mr. Javed's responsibility, what he thinks. So that's the reply. That could make your offer more appealing. After having this information, the phone conversation, there is an obligation as defined in RIBA, and that obligation is upon you as a listing agent. And here on Mr. Javed, there is an obligation as defined in RIBA. And what is that obligation? Number one, you have to inform, and in this case, Mr. Javed has to inform to his client. That is the first person to be informed, so that they can fully be fully informed in making a decision. So they will be able to make an informed decision, because the commission is going to be reduced. The other person to be informed is the competing buyers. All the competing buyers agents, they need to be informed. Anybody who has submitted their offer or who is going to submit, they have shown the property, and they have already registered their offer. They have registered Form 801. They are going to send you the offers. They need to be anybody involved in that particular, interested in that particular property. They have shown the property. They need to be informed that there is a scenario, the situation is changed, and they need to be informed that other agent came up with the reduced commission, and if they want to revise their offer, they can revise based on to this new situation. And this provision is directed both to client and the customer. So this is for both. When you are informing, if you're dealing with the client, so you have to deal it accordingly. If you are dealing with the customer, then it goes same for your customer. Code of Ethics, Section 3, fairness, honesty, and a registrant shall treat every person the registrant deals within the course of trade in real estate fairly, honestly, and with integrity. And Section 4 says that best interest, you as a registrant shall promote and protect the best interest of your clients. That should be the first priority which you need to look into. You don't have to look into your commission, that if I'm what is going to happen to my commission and what is going to happen to this transaction. Your first priority will always be the interest of your client. You have to inform first your client, then all the other competing buyers also need to be aware of the offer with a reduced commission to be allowed to compete fairly. This provision is directed both to your client and to your customer. So Code of Ethics, Fairness and Honesty, Section 3, you need to look into that one. And the Section 4, Best Interest, you have to protect the best interest of your client. Handling competing offers, how to handle the competing offers based on to the conversation with buyer agent. RIBA does not allow to disclose how many offers have been made on the property until the interested party makes an offer. Once they do, then you must disclose the existence of the competing offer to every person making a offer. You must not reveal any details other than the number of offers. If a brokerage that has a seller as client receives competing offers, competing written offers, the brokerage shall disclose the number of competing offers to every person who is making one of the competing offers, but shall not disclose the substance of the competing offers. The only thing which you can disclose is the total number of offers, but you cannot disclose any substance of the competing offers. That is very important to note. The Code of Ethics, Section 24, does not allow you that. Now, what you are free to communicate with other agents? You are free to communicate with other agents your client's concerns. You can gauge seller's receptiveness to the buyer's offer. Verbal offers are not actual offers under RIBA. So only offers considered are the offers in written. So what are other obligations to keep in mind? Let's look into that one. Offer must be signed, written, and legible to be valid. When we say legible to be valid, there should be a dollar value, there should be a date, and it should be properly signed. So if it is not, if it does not meet these criteria, then that is not an offer and cannot be communicated. You cannot let seller client know about a verbal offer made over the phone and ask whether or not. That could be over the phone, that could be a text message also, or that could be an email that they are showing their intent that they are sending an offer. Until and unless you receive a written offer, you cannot communicate that to your client that you have received an offer. In discussing offer with your clients, when you receive the offers, the first, if an interested buyer or an agent call that they will be submitting an offer later today, then you cannot go back to your client and say that you have received an offer. All you have at this point is the expression of the interest. There is no offer. That is just an intent. They just showed their interest that they will be sending an offer. Now let's take a look what is and is not considered an offer. We discussed this in a detail, but let's have a peek into it and let's see briefly that what is considered not an offer and what is considered an offer. Phone calls, we discussed that one. Conversation at an open house. Let's suppose that you're conducting an open house and agent pops in with their client. They like the property and agent walks to you and he tells you that they are interested in property and they are going to submit an offer. And you are not supposed to convey that to your client that you are going to get an offer. There is an offer. Maybe going back, they go into another property and they like that property and they never come back to you until and unless you get the offer in writing. You don't need to go back and let your client know that you have received the offer. The other thing is that you have received a text message on your phone from a cooperating brokerage or cooperating broker or salesperson that they are interested in the property and they are going to send their offer. So that is not an offer until and unless you get the offer in writing and that is eligible proper offer. Then you can convey only. You get an email also showing an interest from somebody, from some cooperating brokerage, cooperating broker or salesperson. That's still not an offer. The only time you will consider an offer when you receive a written offer, then that is considered an offer, and then you can let your client know that you have received the offer. No registrant shall. The shall is a very powerful word in terms of law, so you need to understand that. While acting on behalf of a purchaser, present an offer to purchase real estate except if the offer is written. So you cannot consider any unless it's a written offer. So that's what the Code of Ethics, that is what RIBA section 35(1) says, that until and unless the offer is written, you cannot consider any communication with you. Could be phone, could be text message, or could be an email. Now, conveying the offer. Registrants have an obligation to present offer to the client as soon as possible. Brokerage must ensure that in the absence of a salesperson, there are procedures in place for the timely delivery of offers. We are going to discuss this in detail. And these requirements also apply to customers whenever there is a customer service agreement in the place with provision to receive offers. So for clients and for customer, the rules is the same for offer conveying and presenting the offers. There's no difference. Code of Ethics, Section 24, conveying offers. A registrant shall convey offer as soon as possible. And a brokerage or a salesperson establish a method or a procedure should be in place if the registrant is the salesperson dealing with that transaction is not available or he will be away, then there should be a procedure in place that in his or her absence, who and he's going to represent him, and those offers need to be timely addressed and need to be timely presented. The copies of the accepted offers, me to review submitted offers. Now you have got the offers, you are meeting your client, you are answering their questions and assisting them to make the decision. And your client has liked one of the offers submitted by the cooperating agent, and they accepted the agreement of they need now they have accepted it. Now as an agent, and here in this case Mr. Javed need to deliver copies of the accepted agreement, and those copies of accepted agreement must be delivered at the earliest possible opportunity. Once the offer has been accepted, return it to the buyer's sales representative, obtain the buyer's written acknowledgements. Once the offer is accepted, give it back to the buyer's sales representative. They will get it signed from their client, and they will get it acknowledged from their client. They will send it back to you. Now you have to acknowledge it from your client also. Once the offer is acknowledged from both the parties and accepted, then that is a final offer. A copy has to be given to the buyer's representative, and one copy will be with the one copy will be given to all the parties involved in that offer. So, and that has to be delivered as soon as possible. That's what the section 28 says. Copies of the agreement, that's as soon as possible. They has to be given to all the relevant parties involved in that transaction. Now, this is another scenario here. That was the listing that Mr. Javed listed a property, getting the offers, and he's discussing with his seller client. Now he has a buyer client, and this buyer has been working with another client, with another sales representative from that other brokerage, and they are very unhappy. That person has not given them the proper service, and they are unhappy with them, and they feel that they have missed the opportunities, good opportunities. They saw some properties, but their sales representative were not good enough to represent them, and they have missed some of the good opportunities. And they now have approached Mr. Asghar, and they have explained him what happened to them, and they don't want this to happen again. So now, what are the responsibilities of Mr. Javed to handle this kind of client? They are informed they have been working with another client, and they have lots of information. Otherwise also, even if they have not been working with another client, nowadays whenever any client comes to you, they have lots of information. It's the electronic age. Onto the internet, there's lots of information available about mortgages, about properties, what's going on into the market, what's going on into the real estate. So you need to be up to date also. So when you're sitting with your client, you can answer their questions. And if your client is more educated than you, and you are sitting just like a duck, then you will lose that client. So same thing happened with these clients with their previous agent. That agent might have not been knowledgeable, so they are not very happy. So they approached Mr. Javed. Now let's see how Mr. Javed is going to handle. The first thing he is he is going to do is he is going to document, and you need to document also in written all the details of your client, their requirements and their instructions, their needs and their wants. Write it down, get them written, get them recorded in your device, whatever you are using. Conduct a thorough and true qualification process. And that thorough and true qualification process, what are they looking for? What is their time frame? How much the money they are willing to put into? What is the down payment? Do they have the mortgage pre-approved? So these all kind of things you can do to pre-qualify that. And then once you have all that one, and you know that what kind of properties they are looking, and then start sending them the listings on a regular basis onto their criteria. And once they like any of the property they want to show, take them to the properties, explain them, and help them out to make a decision to select a property. Keeping buyer informed on significant and key market trends. Keep them informed, because if there is any change into the market related to real estate, that could be mortgage, that could be other real estate information, and they keep them informed. And that only you can do that if you yourself educate every day. If you know that what's going on to the real estate market, if you don't know what's going on to the real estate market, what's going on to the mortgage, you will not be able to explain that, and might be your client has already been through that, and they come back and call you and they just want to reconfirm from you, and you don't know that, then you will be into an embarrassing situation. So keep yourself informed and keep your client informed also with the everyday market trends. Drafting an agreement. When the right property is found, and when your client is actually happy to put the offer, then help them out and let them know that how you will be negotiating and how you will be tracking the deal until the closing. It's not that you just have shown the property, you have just written the agreement and it gets accepted. That's not the end of the story. Just give them a confidence, make them comfortable that you will be helping them starting from beginning till the closing, but not only the closing, and after the closing also. We'll look into that as well. Keep your client, or keep this couple, in case of this, Mr. Javed is going to keep this couple informed throughout the process. Maintain a post-closing relationship. We'll look into the detail with the client, and that is very important, that if you keep the relationship after the closing, you will most likely get more referrals and more business from that client. Section 23, Code of Ethics, steps taken by the registrant. A registrant shall inform a client of all significant steps that the registrant takes in the course of representing the clients. That's what we are talking about, that keep them informed, keep buyers informed on significant and key market trends. Any change which is into the market for the real estate, that could be related to mortgage or anything related to the real estate, keep them informed. That's your responsibility. After viewing few properties, the buyer are ready to make an offer. You must use the current forms. This is important to note, that you must use the current form. If you are not using the current form, you can be into the trouble, because the RICO, routine RICO inspection of the brokerage records, would reveal that if you have not used, and then that will be too late. So make sure you are using the current forms. If not, then you will be in a trouble, because you are expected as a professional real estate licensed agent stay up to date as to prevent any compliance issues. That is very important to understand. So make sure that you know what the current forms are, what the compliance are. Otherwise, you will be in a trouble, and ultimately your brokerage will be in trouble also. And Section 34 is Code of Ethics says that a registrant shall ensure that the forms used by the registrant in the course of a trade in a real estate are current. Nowadays, all these brokerages, actually, they have created the templates. So most of the time, the agents don't have to worry. They pull up the templates created by their brokerage, and they just fill out those one. But again, it does not relieve you from your responsibility. Sometimes might be the brokerage has missed to update their templates. So you need to look into if the template you are using has the current forms, because ultimate responsibility as a licensed agent is yours. After viewing full properties, you must use the current form. RICO inspection can put you in trouble, and the registrant shall ensure that the forms used by the registrant in the course of the trade or in the real estate are current. That is your responsibility. That's why, again, I'm displaying this one for you so that you know how important this is to use the current forms. Before the buyer signs the offer, discuss details involved in the offer. It could be very lengthy process. As real estate professionals, it is your responsibility to make your client understand what they are signing and what their obligations are and responsibilities are going to be. Especially on the forms, if you have noticed, there are the seals. There are some black dots, visible black seals, and explain that what are the meanings of those seals. It is whenever they are signing beside that seal, it is as if they are signing in the court of law in front of the judge. That is how important that seal on that contract is. Make sure that you explain that to your client, that this is not just a document where they are signing. It is as if they are signing in the court of law in front of the judge. That is the importance of that seal. So make sure you understand and you make your client understand. View the offer documents with your client before you submit it, and what you need to review is their personal information. Make sure that you verify their personal information from the documents. That could be driving license, that could be any other document which is available to you. If there are other parties involved in the offer, identify those also. The deposit, discuss with your client deposit and how the deposit is going to go, irrevocable period, and that is the irrevocable date and time. That is very important. Explain them that if they are submitting this offer and they are signing this one, and these are the last signature they are putting on that before it's going to be accepted or coming back to them. They cannot withdraw from that. If this offer is submitted, they have to wait till that irrevocable date expires, or they get an answer from the seller. They have to wait for that. They cannot go back, because if they are thinking that they have submitted the offer and they can submit another offer and they forget about that one, they will not be going forward. No, explain them that it's very important to understand that they cannot go back. They cannot say that they are not going forward with that. They have to wait till that irrevocable period is expired, or they listen, or they hear something back from the seller agent. The closing date, explain them, it's very important. It cannot be on to the, sometime your client may well say that, can we make it on Saturday or Sunday because we are free that day. Explain them that the closing day has to be on to the working days business, because the banks are closed, and it should not be on the bank closing day also, because sometimes bank will not send the documents. And if it is on a statutory holidays, your lawyer may not be working, the banks will not be working, so you will again be in trouble, and your client will be in a trouble, and you'll be in a trouble as well. Title search is another important date. Explain them, because your client is entitled to have a clean title. Your the buyer's lawyer will be looking into that one. They will be, if there is anything onto the title search, the buyer's lawyer will communicate that to the seller's lawyer, and they need to have the clean title. The only thing which on the title will be after the property is closed and transferred to the buyer will be the buyer's mortgage. Poorly drafted agreement of purchase and sale may consequence for both parties. The offer document establishes what the buyer and the sellers are entitled to. Poorly drafted agreement of purchase, for the seller, unfavorable closing terms; for the buyer, losing the deposit, getting stuck with a faulty home. Review the documents with the client. The time it takes is the time required. Don't rush. Carefully drafting and reviewing the offer documents with your client is essential in prompting and protecting their best interest. Mr. Askar is taking some extra step, advising his client to put some conditions. And there are two important conditions which need to be looked into. One is the financial and one is the home inspection. Always put these conditions. Your templates may have those, your brokerage might have created those. But sometimes if your client asks you to remove them, just don't delete them, cross them out, strike them out, and get the initials onto the in front of those, so that you know that these were there and your client asked them to. Because if they are not there, and end of the day, if something happens and it goes into the court or some other dispute, and your client says that they were never explained about these things, so you'll be in trouble. But if they are there into the contract and striked out and initials, and your client has initialed them, then you are safe. So what is the finance? Why we have to have that risk of not getting the final financial approval? There could be a reason that at the final moment the bank refuses, or the mortgage who is giving the mortgage, they refuse to give that. There is appraisal issue, financing approved for less than expected. Now let's suppose the property was $1 million and the finance is approved only for $800. The $200 difference that your buyer has to make it now. So they have to come up with the difference of appraisal and the financing approved. And similarly, if the appraisal is less than what the property is worth of, then there is a problem. Insert a financing condition to protect deposit. This is why you are inserting that one. Make offer conditional on buyer successfully obtaining the finance. If they are not able to get the finance, they can get their deposit is returned to the buyer if financing falls through. But if your client is insisting that they don't want to put this condition, you still put this condition, strike it out, and get the initials from your client. Similarly, same thing goes for the home inspection. This should be there. And if they are willing to remove it, you remove it, strike it out, and get the initial. If it is there, it makes offer conditional on satisfactory home inspection. Satisfactory home inspection is a very actually powerful word. It is in a favor of buyer, because if there is even a small thing and your buyer want to walk away from the that contract, they can make this as an excuse and they can walk away because they are not satisfied with the inspection, and they will get their deposit back. Condition protect buyer client in the event of unexpected deficiencies in the property. Buyer would be stuck. Otherwise, buyer would be stuck with a faulty property if this condition is not there. Conditioning offers also give you options. It gives you the tool also. You can walk away, your client can walk away and recover the deposit. have seller address the repairs needed, or you can negotiate. You can use as a tool for negotiation, and you can get the price renegotiated, and you can make your client happy if he's willing to proceed, and if they can get some um, reduced price under the property, and they can get the things done. But make sure that you are advised that they are willing to move, and you are negotiating in a favorable price for them. So that's your responsibility. Now there are 6 W's of the condition clause, and what are those? Let's look into it. One is who is going to do it, and number 2 is who's going to pay it, and what's going to be done, and what's the time limit, what happens if it is not done, and finally, can the clause be waived. Now here, if the clause is waived and it is waived by your client, make sure that they understand when they are waiving the clause. When the clause is waived, that does not have, and then now they don't have any way to go back. Once it's waived, that is not part of the contract, and the contract is now final. So make sure that they understand this. The home inspection, now the home inspection is there. The times come, the inspector is there. Now you are asking yourself, what happens if something that home inspector missed? What should I do? So that's you are asking yourself, and that you can do only if you are present. It's important that you should be present always when there is an inspection. And should I be present for the home inspection? Yes, of course, you should be there. What happens if home inspection reveals deficiencies during condition period? These are the questions you're asking, and you should be able to address these. Now, what happens if I see something that happens inspector missed? If there is a problem, discuss it with your client. That is the first thing you need to do, because you have to protect the interest of your client, and ask the inspector that why about the issue, why it was missed. He might have overlooked it, because they are also human being, and you might have figured it out. Discuss it. If you are not doing that one, if you are not discussing, and the other thing you need, then you will be in a trouble. Another thing is that find it out that if a visit from an inspection visit or from a specialist is required. For example, that if the inspector finds a mold and he is not a mold specialist, and he is saying that, yeah, it's a very small thing to go, but still let your client know and ask the inspector that if we need to have the mold inspector to come in and check it out. So these things you mention that your client, and write it down somewhere, or ask the inspector to write it into his report, so that you are safe. If you are not doing that, you could face legislation if there is issue with the home inspection. Be present for all, see problems firsthand, and learn about the condition of the dead. You are educating yourself, because we, an agent, are not the inspectors. We don't know how and what they inspect. So we get an opportunity here, and you should be there, present there. Then you will be learning something. Get a better understanding of the process. Demonstrate that your commitment to your clients. That also demonstrate that how committed you are with your client when you are present there. So become familiar with the items that typically they inspect. They are ground and exterior, road and attic, windows and doors, basement and crawl spaces, interior rooms, kitchens and bathrooms, major system, electrical havoc, and plumbing. Home inspection, what happens if I see something inspector has missed? If there is a problem, discuss it with your client. You represent your client and must protect and promote their interest. Ask the inspector about the issue, why it was missed. Inquire about that they need a specialist. Specialist is required to address that issue. Ask that question also. If you don't do that one, you may be in a trouble. Offer submitted is conditional. When the offer submitted is conditional on a home, then the buyer will have more options. Terminate the deal and seek return of their deposit. Negotiate with the seller to address the deficiencies. Negotiate the sale price. So these are the options the buyer has. The buyer choose to waive. If the buyer choose to waive the waive or fulfill home inspection, explain that what are the consequences if they are fulfilling and they are waiving. Now they are happy to proceed, but explain them what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the buyer will have fewer options. They may end up purchasing a home with outstanding deficiencies. If they are okay with the inspector's inspection, there are some few here and there problems, and they say that's okay, but you still explain them that you are waiving, and after waiving them, you will end up with the outstanding deficiencies, if there are any. Inform the buyer of the risk of foregoing a home inspection. If they don't want to have an inspection, inform them that what is the problem is that before making any decision. Failing to provide conscientious and competent service may result in RICO disciplinary, because if you're not explaining them in writing, yeah, do that in writing. Don't do anything verbal. You don't do anything which you cannot prove tomorrow. Preparing for absence. This is another thing which we need to discuss, that you, an agent, are not available to handle the inquiries of your client or handle the offers coming in. So what need to be done? Agent must arrange for another salesperson at the brokerage to handle. You have to arrange from the same brokerage you are working with. You cannot arrange it from another brokerage. Let's suppose that you're thinking that you have another friend working with another brokerage. You can ask him or her. No, you can't do that one. So the person has to be from your brokerage, and you have to inform your broker of record that you will be away, and they need to arrange somebody who can look after your client in your absence. The salesperson handling on behalf of the buyer. Now the salesperson who will be handling on behalf of you, uh, listing, and then will have the obligations to buyer agents, clients and customer for the both. Now, buyer agent is expected to inform you. You as an agent has to inform your client also that you will not be available for a certain period of time, and someone else in your absence will be looking after them, and you need to go and meet your client with your colleague and introduce your colleague to them, that who will be looking after them in your absence. So that is a good practice. Take your colleague, whoever is going to look after. Now in his case, Mr. Javed is going, and he is letting his clients know that I would like you to meet my colleague Muhammad Chaudhary, who will be helping you while I'm away. So he picked up Muhammad Chaudhary from his brokerage, and he is going to introduce. And now he's taking Muhammad with him to his client. They both are meeting to them, and Muhammad is also introducing them to himself. To them and giving them their cards. So you need to have introduce yourself to them, let your colleague introduce them, and then you talk to the client and give them your card, and let them know that you are available whenever they need them. Give them some sort of comfort that they don't miss the absence of your colleague. Then meet your client in person to communicate the arrangements made to ensure continuous of service. Formal introduction. Ensure your clients or colleagues are compatible. That is very important. If they are not compatible, your transaction might well get ruined, and your client will be very unhappy. So the reason could be any. So could be vacation of your absence, personal reasons, or hospitalization. So an arrangement and a process should be in place. If the person dealing with the client is not there, somebody else should handle them. The closing day. On the closing day, how often do you need to communicate? Let your client know that they can contact you as often as needed, and check in with client regularly. Keep in touch, keep on calling them, ask them if they need any help. Maybe they close before the closing day, they are packing and they need any packing material or something like that one. Just keep in touch and keep them asking if they need any help. Give them that help, and it will make them happy. Inquire about the level of support they require. You are expected to make yourself available to assist clients in navigating every stage of the trade. So it's very important, and it will give them a lot of confidence in you, and they will always come back to you in future if they need any other property, or if any of their sphere is buying or selling. They will definitely refer them back to you if you have given them that much confidence and a good service. Issues with the closing. There could be some issues with the closing which you need to explain to your client, and that is timing issues, delay in the delivery of documents. Those documents can be from the brokerage or from the bank or from the other lawyers. So there could be anything. So you keep on talking to your client, and your client may be talking to the lawyer. So you also need to be into the loop, so to be informed and to handle if there is any situation. Financial issues, seller unaware of mortgage, because the seller who is selling that property, they are breaking the mortgage and they were unaware of the penalties. Now because of that there is a delay, and your client wanted to move in, they already have given the notice. So you need to handle all these scenarios, and the only way you can do it if you are in touch with your client. So deficiencies newly discovered after closing. You find out that something has been damaged while they were moving. So that's your responsibility to walk through your client on the closing day or after the closing day next day. Make sure that you walk through the property with your buyer client. Make sure that everything is in good shape. If not, then risk allocation clause included in the standard APS in Ontario and makes the sellers liable for that damage. That makes the seller, that is clause is there. Note down all details, take pictures, make videos of deficiencies, assist your client in obtaining an estimate for the cost involved and time required for repairs. Communicate and coordinate with the seller's representative. Recommend that the buyer seeks legal advice to determine what steps to follow. Don't give any legal advice them. You and as an agent are not a legal advisor. Ask them to contact their lawyer, and you can provide them the pictures you have taken or the videos you have taken and the notes you have taken. Give them to support them, and they can now have it addressed through their lawyer. Retention of the record, that is the last thing we need to discuss about. The seller's brokerage must retain a copy of every written offer it receives from a buyer. Does not matter if it is accepted or not. Any counter offer also, any unsuccessful offers, they need to retain those. Unsuccessful offers and successful offers have a different period to be retained. Unsuccessful offers are to be retained for 1 year, and offers that have been accepted and resulted in purchase of a real estate need to be kept for 6 years in the record of your brokerage. The listing brokerage must provide a copy of the every written offer received for the property or the alternate native summary document as applicable when requested by the registrant. Thank you very much for this. I hope it is helpful for you, and I wish you good luck in your real estate venture. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful real estate.